Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. And I'd like to introduce everyone before we start off. First of all, let's talk a little bit about RMZ Foundation. RMZ Foundation, which has started its journey 4 years back, in a short span has brought about transformational human impact through its continued work on art, sustainability, and innovation. As one of the few foundations in the world that takes monumental art directly to the people, its work in the field has been well noted with a collection of 40 plus evaluated works of important national and international artists in its collection that have been placed in public spaces, along with its exclusive global and national collaborations, exhibits, and programs that bring a shift in creative thinking and help build a more dynamic, innovative, and a progressive future for the world tomorrow. In line with our motto, We Care for the Future, we present to you a second episode in the RMZ Foundation Art in the Future series with artist Paresh Maity in collaboration with Art Alive Gallery. Before I start with the webinar, I would like to first introduce you to Sunena Anand, who is the founder and director of Art Alive Gallery, New Delhi. Established in 2001, Art Alive Gallery believes in engaging art enthusiasts and artists in visual dialogue to aid the emerging perspectives in the realm of Indian contemporary art to produce some of the finest shows and publications intended to bridge the gap between the art, artist, and viewer, a common thread that runs between RMZ Foundation and the gallery. We are delighted to host as our speaker today noted artist and Padma Shri awardee Paresh Maity, with whom Art Alive has had a working relationship for 15 years. Some of the major shows of Paresh Maity, including The World on a Canvas, An Enchanting Journey Kerala Through the Eyes of the Artist, Sheesh Lekha, in association with NGMA Delhi and Mumbai, World of Watercolors, and all other shows have actually come about as a result of this wonderful partnership. Welcome, Sunena, to this webinar today.
Thank you, Amrita, for such a warm welcome. And we are really delighted to be back with our second episode of Art in the Future conversation series today in collaboration with RMZ Foundation. And we look forward to a very enriching afternoon, getting to know more about Paresh's journey and what he thinks about art in the future. Thank
Lovely. Thank you, Sunena. And this webinar would not be complete without welcoming one special person without whose support and vision this would not have been possible. So I would like to welcome Mrs. Anu Menda, founder and managing trustee of RMZ Foundation. Anu Menda is a change maker who has pioneered the not-for-profit RMZ Foundation to uplift the communities it serves through leadership, impactful collaborations, and vibrantly creative transformations by being the change. Under her direction, the Foundation's diverse and dynamic public contemporary art programs transform spaces into spectacular, accessible, and well-loved community ecosystems, sustaining creativity, thoughts, and ideas, and cultivating a higher understanding of art's role and relevance to society. One of the key directives of the Foundation, Accentuate Art, breathes creative life into public spaces with a futuristic focus, integrating galleries and art institutions to allow a democratic voice for art, which is inclusive in its engagement through events, programs, and exhibits involving the public, as well as exclusive through the RMZ Foundation collection that has some of the more unique and evaluated quality works in monumental scale that reach out to the masses in cities across India. Thank you, Mrs. Menda, and we welcome you to this webinar today.
Thank you, Amrita, for the kind introduction. Good evening, Paresh, Sunena. It gives me immense hope and joy that we've been able to materialize the challenge of this unprecedented pandemic into such a wonderful opportunity of sharing and learning within the infinite world of art. Let me share a few lines about our prolific guest speaker. Paresh Maity was born in Tamluk in West Bengal in 1965. He received his bachelor's degree in fine arts from Government College of Arts and Crafts, Kolkata, followed by a master's degree from the College of Arts, New Delhi. The artist has held over 81 solo shows, including Shesh Lekha, The Last Poems of Tagore, a tribute in watercolors by Maity to commemorate the 150th birth anniversary of the Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore at NGMA Delhi and Mumbai in 2011. He has participated in several prestigious shows in India and abroad. A Mystic Journey, an exclusive collection of his watercolor works, was shown with the works of an American photographer, Steve McCurry, as part of the festival India Calling 2010 at Chicago Tourism Center Gallery of Art, Chicago, presented by Art Alive Gallery. He has been felicitated by various national and international institutions, including the Royal Watercolor Society, London. In February 2014, he was honored with Padma Shri by the Government of India, one of the highest civilian awards for his contribution to the art world. Paresh Maity, along with his partner, the noted artist Jayashree Burman, continues to push the envelope on contemporary Indian art, which is reminiscent of its landscape and culture and yet is global in its appeal. Sunaina and Amrita, may I request you to now immerse us into the world of Paresh Maity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mehta. So, Sunaina, would you like to take on the conversation with Paresh Maity, since you've had such a long relationship with the artist and it's almost like family with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, Paresh. And to begin with, it's always an interest, and we are asked many times this question by collectors that tell us more about Paresh and how did he begin his journey. So I think that's a great start to this conversation, and we like to start and by taking you back to your early days, to your roots, and to Tamluk, which we see often in your art, from where you begin your journey. Tell us something about that.
Good
Uh,
evening, everybody. It is wonderful to be, with all of you this evening, and all the listeners and viewers from every parts of the country and abroad. Uh, my journey started very early age, at the age of 7, looking at the artisans making the Durga idol in Tamluk. I could not believe, even I can remember that day, and I completely hypnotized how they are transforming the deity, and it was, becoming a real truth that really haunted me, and decided that very day at the age of 7 I want to be an artist, and that would be probably the last word and the final word. God's grace continue, continuously I've been doing that, and journey was very turbulent, not smooth at all, but uh, there is a long, not a long conversation that I could tell you and explain you so much, but it was
Yeah.
wonderful, memorable journey.
How was it? I mean, coming from that small town of Tamluk, and as a child, you were interested in art. You made up your mind that you want to be an artist. But one is that you're wanting to do, and one is that you're able to do. So, this whole transition of move from Tamluk to Kolkata, a big city, for a young boy who didn't have much exposure except Tamluk, what was that like? And what gave you that courage to take that step?
Probably the inner urge, the passion, love, and love for art, and that God's grace, that force was there. And Tamluk to Calcutta, it was just not that I came to Calcutta to study. I was going every day, coming and going from Tamluk, 200 kilometers. So journey was always, there. I was never in Calcutta. During just my study, BFA, last year I was in Calcutta. And even that journey, you started talking about the journey, was every day's unfolding story of novel. You will not believe the train, bus, monsoon, summer, any time, always on time. 8 hours I used to spend on the road and study and sketches. And those sketches and that memories are all my, art today.
That's what we see in your art. So, like, we're just looking at
Yes.
your work called Riverside, which which was like, your initial works, that those were out of your personal inspirations. This work, can you tell us something about the riverside? Is this Tamluk?
Yes, my the Tamluk is situated, near the river, water-laden sky, lot of canals, ponds, water bodies basically. So the boat, the relationship with boat, the termination of the boat, it really stayed in my blood. So this is the landscape I could see. Even I was just now there last week in my native place. I could see the same thing. I went for morning walk and evening walk to see how what changed it happened, and that takes me back always. This is a still life during the college, foundation time. We had to study all this very typical British schooling art, because without this we could not do anything. Line, forms, colors, composition, all these things we had to study methodically. ABCD of everything.
So travel has been an integral part of your journey as an artist and as your subject. That's what we can see. So tell us something about which are the other places you went earlier, and Amrita will then take off from there and ask more about your travel series.
See, the beginning, my early ages, I could not really get out of my district that much because I come from a very poor family. So I had no exposure. I could not travel many places. I think when I was in class 7 with my father, I went first time to Kolkata, or Calcutta at those days. I could not believe. And my father was showing me this is that, this is that. I was like open mind. I was eating everything. I was absorbing everything. How the Howrah Bridge looks, how the Victoria Memorial looks, all this that we have been listening so long. So that was my passion. For travel was always there. It is still there. It's been always there. I have traveled almost every place. I love to travel, which is gives me so much of color. The culture, the places, the people to interact, and it's so much freshness I get. It is never stagnant in one place, and it is changing, and that's why my painting is changing, color is changing, style is changing spontaneously.
Amrita, we can't hear you.
Parishda, can you hear me?
Yes,
So
I
I
can
was
hear you.
saying this particular work which you see in front of you was the first visit to Shimla was made while you were still in college, right? Art college at that point of time.
Yes, I was in my formative years,
Yes,
traveled first time to Himachal Pradesh
yes,
by train,
yes,
coming from Howrah to Shimla. This was
right.
the back of house of Shimla. Very early,
Mm,
full sheet watercolor is probably 85 when I was
hmm.
second year student. It's a
Yes,
large watercolor.
yes. And
So
your watercolors actually started very early as 11, 12 years old, isn't
that's
it?
right. In the
The,
in the
the first work which you saw was when you were 12 years old.
yeah, but
Yeah.
as I said that I started at the age of 7. So beginning
Yeah.
4 years, I was only playing with clay, doing
Right.
modeling and
Mm,
murtis. So
mm,
that was actually my formative beginning when I was in class second, third standard, fourth standard.
mm.
Painting started nearly at the age of 11 and 12. The painting which
Yes.
you showed, that was very early,
Right.
watercolor, which is with
Yes.
me.
Yes. And this was in college. For our viewers, as you go along, you will see how Paresh's work adds on more and more character and it starts flowing more and more. And you will see the different dynamics of his work as we go through this session today. So do keep an eye on the works themselves. So, Anushri, next slide, please. This is, I think, Parishta, this was in your travels to Rajasthan. Was
That's
that?
that was 1990 when I started my Delhi College of Art. My first travel to Rajasthan, it was in Jaisalmer.
Right.
I saw this Katputli dance and I was very fascinated. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
the color, the people, the
Mm.
attire, the vibrancy of the place, the people, the structure,
Right.
that was, completely changed my painting style from landscape to figurative. So this
Lovely.
was the first trip, one
Right.
painting with the, in a shop. This
Right.
Katputli and a mask was hanging. It
Right.
was in Jaisalmer.
Oh, lovely. Now let's move on to the next one. Oh, this is beautiful. So, Parishta, I wanted to talk a little bit about this work, Light of Paradise. The motive which we most people identify your watercolors with is the boat, and we find the boat in this image in all its magnanimity. And you can also see how the skies and the colors are changing, and you have a whole breadth of watercolor over there which is acting. I mean, it's tight in certain spaces and you can see it flowing in others. Can you tell us a little bit about this work and how you actually handle technique within this work?
As you know, the Varanasi is the most rooted and oldest and ancient city in this universe. It still exists. It
Mm,
has so much energy.
mm,
It's unbelievable.
mm,
I went when I was a second year student in
mm,
Kolkata
mm,
with two of my friends.
mm,
And when arrived there, I could not believe sitting at the ghat that
mm,
this place
mm,
has the birth to marriage, the death, and everything combined.
mm.
And it's unique and it's like a city never sleeps. This
Right.
and the light is changing every time. People are so much happening. It's
Right.
like the whole universe is here. I
Right.
said, my goodness. So
Mm,
this is a painting, this not that I have done that time. I
mm-hmm.
have done it much later period.
Right.
But let me tell you, maybe I have been to Varanasi maybe 50 times in different times of the year. And I have observed the monsoon cloud, the
Mm,
light in the evening, the early morning light. It
mm,
is amazing. You will
mm.
not even believe. And in the evening, how you can see the diyas are floating on the water and
Right.
how translucent,
Mm,
luminosity, transparency.
mm.
And it's a complete world. I can spend the whole life in Varanasi just
Right.
doing painting. And it
Right.
will be all different painting every day.
That's wonderful. Next slide, please. And here we have Parishda in his travels. Parishda, a little bit on this, please.
This is the most popular place in the world, the San Marco Square in Venice. The
Right.
most, haunted square, most, beautiful square and happening square in the world, San
Right.
Marco Square.
Right.
1993, when I was,
Mm.
in Britain
Mm.
to study Turner and Constable through British Council,
Right.
when I studied Turner, I said, my goodness, Turner, I saw many paintings at Tate Gallery in the Clore Gallery.
Right.
Oh, I had to see this place. I had no
Mm.
money. Really, I was, saving £5,
Mm.
£8, £10 every day. Went
Right.
to Venice.
Right.
And I've realized that why that so many artists, writer, photographer, they
Mm.
spend from you go back from Renisha beyond, it is a city, it's like mystic dreamland.
Right.
Color is changing,
Right.
light is changing, everything is changing, and
Mm.
it's so musical this place. I
Right.
said, I have to start doing painting. So I started
Mm.
1993, the series of painting of
Mm.
Venice.
Mm.
Till now, I have been 20 times, and every time I go there, and I feel it is always new.
Yes.
I never get bored. Every time I want to go,
Yes.
I want to go to Venice. I don't know what it is there.
So
So much,
so Parishda, we can actually see that when you look at the skies, it's the same Venice, and you see how you've worked it with just hues and tones, and on the other end, you have the sky itself, the ever-changing nature of the sky and water. You've captured it so well with the monuments. There must be something in there where you tend to actually absorb the life, the people, the culture around, and then you kind of throw it out onto the watercolor and canvas. Isn't that the way you work, as we were talking earlier?
See, the light is the most integral part for any visual thing. Without
Mm,
light, there is
mm,
no life.
mm,
Imagine if it is a dark, you can't see
mm.
anything. Even
Yes.
at this moment, if the electricity goes, what can you see? So light plays a vital role for any visual art.
Yes.
Especially in my painting, light is the most integral part because
Mm,
I observe the morning, evening light whole during the whole day's life very
mm,
carefully. And how can I capture that light? That's the fundamental issue
mm,
in my,
In your works, yes.
yes.
Anushri, next slide, please. And here we have the gondola on one end, which is pen and ink on paper. So the interesting thing about Parishda is also the fact that he can, he doesn't really sketch, but he can use the paintbrush and sketch with it. And there you have the rainy day. Look at the clouds in the water. Parishda, the thing that both of them are a base of water, and you're able to bring in that movement and that energy. Can you tell us a little bit about how you work with the flow and movement of your watercolors? I mean, watercolor is a very difficult material to work with. How do you control it? How do you work with it?
It is the most difficult medium in the form of art
Mm,
because you cannot rectify and
mm,
you cannot use the white pigment and it has the limitations of the size. This is
mm,
a painting of Kerala in monsoon. And you
mm,
know how in Arabian Sea and people, the fishermen are out for catch.
mm,
And you can see the turbulent sea
mm,
and the cloud is a roaring cloud.
mm,
But whereas in the Venice, it was a placid waterfront, and the light is very mellow, very musical. Here is very strong,
mm,
roaring.
mm,
So it is with the same medium how you use it with your deeper instinct and
mm,
passion, love. With
mm.
the same brush, same stroke, you really change the
Mm.
environment and the atmosphere. So
Yes.
that's, and you can see the net, that
Mm,
thin in the same blue, and you can see the same blue, and it is like in the sky and cloud, but
mm,
in water again, same blue, the reflection is there, and you can
mm.
see the transparency of the fishing net. So
Right.
all this has to be very, very careful.
Mm,
100% you have to be correct, not
mm,
100%, 1000% you have to be correct. And
mm.
let me tell you, they're quite a big size.
Yes.
So it is really a challenging thing and very, very tough, the most
Mm.
difficult medium. But I
Yes.
enjoy. It's my,
Yes. And
love.
here we have you sketching Oblivious to the World next to Humayun's tomb. Anushri, next slide, please. And there you have the Taj Mahal. Interesting thing about this work, Parishta, is the fact that you have been able to get the sky and the water. It's a watercolor. I
That's
would sometimes mistake it for an oil pastel because of the tightness with which you've made the buildings. But at the same time, I'm wondering because you have the river water below and you can see the reflections and you can see the expanse of the sky in the sunset. Beautiful work. So, just wanted to understand a little bit on your sureness when you make line and movement. Your strokes are always very, very sure. They're never because if you were unsure about it, you wouldn't have the kind of watercolors you do. So a little bit on your line movements when you're working with watercolor.
See, I don't erase any line.
Mm,
I'm very, very sure what I'm doing. You can see the water and the sky, that it is the same color, but you
mm,
can feel the sky, the light is there, and you can see the water is water.
mm,
Same color, same
yes,
surface, same everything, but two different, character
yes,
and chemistry of those, this object.
yes,
Until and unless you are, I'm very sure, then
mm,
I cannot create because it happens in a moment. I
yes,
cannot really do it in 2 days. I have to complete it very, very fast. I
mm,
know once it dries up, then I've done from top to
mm,
bottom.
mm,
Either you succeed or you are failure. So it
yes,
is really like a battlefield, either you succeed or you are failure. So
Yes.
it's, and also they are very big work.
Yes, yes. So here we have, the pagoda, and you can see the flowers. It's the bleeding of the color, but it's done so beautifully, and you can make out landscape and life, etc. Pareshda, a little bit on the minimalistic quality of your watercolors, please.
From my early, time, early period, I have realized the philosophy of the Japanese and Chinese, that
Mm.
how minimalistic approach towards the painting or everything. They say that the minimum work, maximum expression. You can see the whole
Mm.
paper is nearly blank. Some, few just cherry blossoms and
Mm.
little pagoda. Like
Yeah.
the subject is really little tiny corner.
Right.
But you can see that painting is completed.
Yes.
So the balance of this minimalism is unique in Japanese, Chinese, and their. I was very much, studying. Of
Yes.
course, I have traveled to those places extensively and done these paintings at the
Mm.
spot, on the
Yes.
spot. All these paintings,
Yes.
I have done it there,
Yes.
and I have not only done it, not the sketches. I have finished the painting on the spot.
Lovely. Pareshda, now coming to the next one, which is, we have two paintings here. The reason they're juxtaposed against each other is also for our viewers to look at the dexterity of your work as well as the spirit of it. Because here you have similar colors, but the way the mountain is made and the way the Yellow River is made, they're completely different in their spirit and their understanding of life. So you had mentioned, Pareshda, in our talks earlier, on a specific brush which you use and how you kind of work it through, because it's a very difficult medium to work with, and these are large, expansive, works. These are not small works; they're 3 feet to 2 feet works, which is amazing.
I
So
do 10 feet watercolor, by the way. Eh?
yeah, you've done that as well. You could go everywhere with the watercolors. But Parishta, a little bit about the brush strokes you've used. Remember the brush you were talking about? There's a particular brush you've used, which
Yeah, these watercolors, generally anywhere in the world you get the sizes, the maximum 20, 24. We have number 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. But
hmm,
these brushes are, if I tell you, it is nearly 250 numbers, specially
wow,
made in Germany.
yes,
And they are very beautiful. This brush can be, pointed
yes,
absolutely. With
yes,
the same brush, like a
yes,
tabla chata, I
yes,
can, press it, it will give a, flat tone,
yes,
flat stroke, then small little stroke. Even I can do signature. It can be, and it can hold the water very beautifully. It will not just fall.
right,
And they last long time, and they're organic brushes, by the way. They are not
lovely.
synthetic and all this.
Okay,
So
that's lovely.
the swing
So here,
does
here,
not swing. Does not.
yeah. Yes. So I think it's also the way you treat your material and the way you almost, it's like an ecosystem you create around you and you work with your material and, what you see around you. And here we have, again, just wanted the viewers to actually have a look at these two paintings. Both are on Mount Fuji. The first one, which is on your right hand side, if you look at it, Fuji, which is basically an earlier work, okay, which is in 1979, was made well before Parishda actually traveled to Fuji. So this is coming from his amazingly active imagination and the passion to look outside into the world and to grow in the world and to capture as much as possible from it. He had it very early in him. And then this the one on the left side, which you see, is actually after his travels in Fuji, and you can see the peace and the dynamism of this work with just minimal colors. Parishta, a little bit on the Mount Fuji trip which you had and how you came about this work.
This was my early work unknowingly, when I was around 13 years or 12 years old. I
Mm,
did that work from maybe a, reproduction of a book
yes,
and there. But I could not believe, after maybe 45 years,
mm,
that it was my second trip to Japan. It was extensive trip. I wanted to travel
Yes.
to every corner and capture the cherry blossoms.
Right.
I went that time.
Right.
I was lucky. Cherry blossom was there and snow was there.
Right.
Together it was you know.
Mm,
When we were coming back from
mm,
to Kyoto to Tokyo,
mm,
it was -4 degree,
mm,
very cold.
mm,
End of March,
mm,
1st April maybe.
mm,
Everybody wanted to come back,
mm.
and I said no, I have to go to Fuji.
Right.
He said, how can you go? I said, no, I will get down here. So I
Right.
went there, it was -4.
Yes.
I went out from the hotel for a
Yes.
walk, and my
Yes.
wife asked me that, what are you doing? I said, I have to observe the snow, the cold, then I can paint. I can paint that feeling and the essence of this place.
Right.
And next day I, started.
Yes.
I've done few paintings of Mount Fuji. We
Yes.
went there, we could see it's very clear, and it
Yes.
was amazing. It is just middle of a city, this
Right.
unique mountain.
Yes. And Parishta, also, just go back to the previous slide, Anushri. If you notice, this is for the viewers again, the top, the cap, the peak of the mountain, and a little bit of the sky on the image on the left-hand side, Parishta has not filled it in with white. It is actually left as white paper.
Paper
And it
white
has, yes, and you worked the watercolor around it so beautifully. It actually looks like you painted it.
is unpainted surface. That's the
Lovely.
fundamental, story of watercolor. That how you leave the paper and which is the source of the light in painting.
Yes. Yes. Okay, moving on. Anushri, next slide, please. And here we have more of, the rain. You can feel the water on the surface on the ground in Piccadilly. And on the left, you can see the flowers in bloom and the
Cherry
expansive
blossom.
sky. So it almost feels like, we are traveling through your eyes when we look at all these works, because, the traveling around the world, you've captured it so well. This is called a floating world. And for the viewers, Paresh Da can actually paint watercolors as small as possible and as large as possible. He's in fact one of the very few people who has such dexterity over watercolors. You can see this work, which is a 55-inch to 96-inch work. And look at the way he has managed the boats, the water, and he's made you feel something with just minimal color spread. Thank you so much, Pareshda, for sharing these lovely works with us.
Kerala, that was Kerala,
Yeah,
part of my enchanting journey trip.
lovely. Oh, so that's Kerala. He's
Yes,
captured over there.
you can see the nice boat
Yes,
and amazing green because Kerala everywhere you see is green. The
yes.
impression is green, and these are some little flower. I don't know how to say
Mm,
this,
yes,
and these are floating. It's like like diyas. It's very beautiful,
right.
very
Yes,
beautiful. I lived
yes,
on this nice
yes,
boat to get the
right.
feeling.
Lovely. Moving on. So, for every artist, when we look at their works, a very important part of it is documentation, and also the kind of, the works they have, putting it all together, having people understand these, because it's very difficult to actually, I mean, if we look at documentation, we need to understand what importance that has in an artist's life. Perhaps, Pareshji, you can actually shed some light on this, because you've worked on documentation very well earlier as well.
See, when I was a student, I
Mm,
was learning from the library.
mm,
Book we will leave one day, but what we will leave? The book for the next generation, for the students, and see your legacy. You leave it in this library. It is the book.
mm,
From the
mm,
book, I could get inspiration from about Turner, Constable, Picasso.
mm,
When I could
mm,
not go and see the original work in the museums in Europe and
yes,
America. So
right.
the documentation of
Mm,
artworks,
mm,
everything, stories,
mm,
which is basically that you are living the history, the
mm,
library for the next generation.
right.
Uh, so that's very,
Yes.
very important, very important.
Yes, Parishta. Now, I wanted to actually shed a little bit of light and perhaps have your comments on, there is a gentleness and there's a flow in your watercolors, which everyone can see. And then we come to the canvases, which are vibrant and they're so bold in their strokes and the colors they use. And they're almost like India itself, celebrating. How do you manage these different mediums and between one to another?
See, when you go to this medium, let's say watercolor, because of the medium, the subjects are very different.
Mm.
When you go to sculpture, the subject is very different. So the medium is also different. When I'm in oil, because the medium, the oil or acrylic, the color itself has a different density
Mm.
and different, luminosity.
Right,
All these figurative painting, as I have mentioned in my early conversation, that my first travel to Rajasthan,
right,
these primary colors of yellow, blue, red,
right.
it really came from Rajasthan. Before that, you could see my paintings, the early, times, it was very different, very subdued. So,
Mm.
and the forms, the lines, that
Mm.
composition, everything changed
Mm.
because of the medium.
Yes.
I could not
It's
paint this
it's mm.
in watercolor. Sorry, Amrita. I could
No,
not
no, no. Yeah.
in watercolor this effect.
Right, right.
And this is very, I don't, it is the size is not mentioned. Like I do a painting 150 square feet
Yes.
in, size, shape to handle
Right.
to the forms, composition,
Mm.
balance,
Mm.
finishing. All these are, very much important part. And the
Mm.
moment you are changing your
Mm.
medium,
Mm.
so the style also changes with the medium.
Absolutely. And here we have Utsav on celebration of life, which is all about your works, actually. And I think, Parishta, I mean, without having said so many words, your paintings actually reflect the life, the landscapes are reminiscent of what is happening with every region, wherever you go. And you seem to capture the soul of it and bring it out on canvas or watercolor, etc. But moving forward, let's go to the next slide, please. Mrs. Menda, would you like to connect with Paresh on his sculptures? Ma'am, I can't hear you. Your
Sorry,
mic is muted.
sorry.
Huh? No
Yes.
problem.
No, I was just going. Paresh's adventurous, experimental personality has prodded him to explore all the mediums that we've seen beautifully on canvas. Now, as we slowly shift towards installations and sculpture, I know he is passionate about filmmaking, photography. There's so much, but he has, I think, put in verticals on trying to bring time and focus to things. But taking art to the public realm was our common thread to intersect our paths about 4 years ago. I won't ruin the reveal, but please share your point of view on how do you see art in the public realm, especially in the three-dimensional
Mm.
sculpture medium. Thank you.
It's very, very important. That's how, the sculpture, people can interact because you can see the piece of sculpture from all sides. You can see the multi-dimension. You can see from even sometimes below, from top. Maybe the sculpture is in your park. You can see from top of the building.
Mm.
But in painting, that possibilities are not there. Also, because it is a multi-dimension, so light plays in different time in a different way, and also with the natural light and with the artificial light. But speaking about the sculpture, talking about the sculpture, let me tell you, as I have said, that beginning of my life, I have started my life making, clay modeling, clay idols.
Mm.
So actually, the sculpture was there, the germination was there, you know, as becoming an artist. So these are actually my own experience, my own observation, my own love and passion. I have been creating now sculptures Now I can't make so much, sculptures because, they are huge in size.
Mm.
My sculptures are really sometimes big. I recently finished a sculpture which is 7 ton. So it
Mm.
took nearly a year to complete the sculpture.
Mm.
Like here, this right hand side bronze sculpture, you go from all sides, you will see different thing.
Mm.
Every sides you will see different thing, different dimension, and there are actually three things in this, and it is called sangam. This sculpture is called sangam, and I do it, or even all this texture, all this round thing. You see, I do it with my own hand. And sculpture, people can interact very nicely, very beautifully. They can touch it, they can feel it. Sometimes, like the tiger was there when I was exhibiting in London Olympia for the international fair. There were 6, 7 people sitting on that and taking photos. And press, they were running on it. It was like, basically uh,
Live.
interacting.
Right.
You can interact with the sculpture. And I must thank Mrs. Sannu Minda 4 years back, when they have thought to incorporate art in business. They have this unique, eco park in Bangalore 4 years back, and they thought to put the sculptures from everybody, especially from the well-known, sector, large, and is, I think, the India now started. That was the inspiration and of RMZ's, you know, uh, work, that they
Mm.
could really, explore this
Mm.
world of art and
Mm.
business and combine them together.
Yes, before as we move on, I'd request the viewers to, if you would like, you can start putting in your questions, and we'll take them as we go along once we finish the last section of this webinar. And in case there are any which are left over, we'll definitely be in touch with you, and we will make sure that Parishda answers those questions for you as well. Thank you so much. Going on, Parishda, let's
This,
listen to you on the birth from the golden egg.
this is an installation. Again, the germination was there at the age of 7 and 8. I had two chickens, small chicken I had bought, and
Mm.
I followed them. After a few months, they became big, and they started giving the eggs, selling those eggs. I was helping my clay modeling, buying colors and everything. Can
Mm.
you believe, after so many years, about 3 years back, I have conceived this installation?
Mm.
And these are all really gold plated eggs, big eggs,
Mm.
each egg 5 kilo. And these are
Wow.
antique cages.
Mm.
It has the story of my early memories and
Mm.
also how the universe was born from
Mm.
the Hiranyagarbha, the
Mm.
beautiful universe.
Mm.
You can see, the dimension. It's
Mm.
a huge, big installation.
Mm.
So this is the small part, of course, but it has a two meaning. As I said, my memories of my childhood, the free range of eggs, which is a
Mm.
golden egg today,
Mm.
and
Mm.
how this beautiful, the golden universe
Mm.
was born from Hiranyagarbha.
Lovely. Parishda, we'll move on to the next one. Here we have Mystic Abode. It's made of bells. Parishda, a little bit on this work, please.
It's a Mystic Award, which is first exhibited in Sydney, contemporary. Then it was exhibited in St. Mary's Art Masters. It is in a square, the most important square, and is made out of 8,500 bells.
Lovely.
Bell creates a sensation in our
Mm.
mind, brings positive energy, takes away the negative energy. It
Mm.
is a life-size house. You can see it has doors, windows, and everything.
Mm.
It is a place, like, you can feel some kind of sense, some kind of feeling, that which will create a sensation and brings so much of positive energy in your mind. Uh, it is unbelievable, and shadows, and
Mm.
it's like a jewel. If you see, you know it's very beautifully, incorporated, that we took around 1 year to, create this sculpture. And not only that, the installation, whenever it is such crazy things, you will not even believe.
Mm.
It has actually 8 pieces.
Oh,
Mm.
lovely. And then
And
they were installed together at the
all,
site.
all
Yeah.
at the site, it was
Yeah.
very difficult task.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and the work is
Sunena?
interactive. I'm saying
Yeah.
this work is interactive. I remember
Yes.
when we had installed this, and
In fact,
you could enter it, and you could, when you stand inside this mystic abode,
Right.
you are into another spiritual environment. You're completely transformed into another
Yes.
space.
And I'm sure with the bells ringing around, it must be
yeah,
creating a vibration as well,
sound
right?
was there.
Yeah.
And all my sculptures are interactive sculptures, by the
Mm.
way. All
Yes.
my, sculptures, and they're big, and you
Yes.
can really go through, you can be there, you can,
Yes. Moving on to the next one, Parishta. Anushri? Well, we are very proud of this one, but Parishta, we'd like you to tell us what is behind this particular work.
grace of our women, the beauty of our women, and the strength and the energy and the power of our women. And
Yes.
this I wanted to depict in this sculpture. And you
Mm.
can see, it is, it is like expanding how,
Mm.
the woman, the mother, my sister, how my wife, they expand the family, the
Mm.
life. Uh,
Mm.
so this, the stretch, it is stretching the
Mm.
whole, society. So that
Mm.
depicts in this sculpture. It is made out of bronze. And
Yes.
I am very happy and honored that during this pandemic, you have RMZs collected for their Chennai
Yes.
business park.
Yes. And here we have the force, which was one of the first sculptures which Parishda had worked with the foundation for. And I'm sure Mrs. Menda and Parishda share very happy memories of this one because I remember Mrs. Menda saying something about it. Mrs. Menda, would you like to share an anecdote on that?
Yes, I mean, I vividly still recall that what struck me most about Paresh is his very affable spirit. So there was the public audience at large, and true to his generosity of spirit, he was sharing his artistic journey and he was demystifying the entire highbrow attitude that
Mm.
art tends to lend. So that's really Paresh for you, standing there, explaining it, and
Mm.
with his personality, drawing audiences who otherwise would uh, go away from the arts because of
Mm.
not knowing what it is. So he was just making it, easing them very beautifully into it.
Lovely.
It was the first sculpture they acquired for the,
Yes, it
sculpture park.
For the foundation,
on the
yes.
When
first
I
view.
went
So
to see,
very,
I could not believe that some corporate people, they have come out for
Mm.
this unique cause. I was very happy. And thank you, Mrs. Annu Minda, for your, support for art and artist.
thank you.
Yes. And the next one, I would like Sunena actually to ask you this question, Parishda, because this is a mammoth work and it is an 850 feet long oil on canvas, which you've done. And I think Sunena and you share some interesting memories with it. So, Sunena, over to you for this one.
Yes, I know. I still remember. We had just got over with our show, The Wall on a Canvas,
Right.
and it was where we had shown for the first time Paresh's journeys over the years and the panorama that he's
Mm.
been to, and the places that he's collected in his
Mm.
memory and into his
Mm.
art.
Mm.
So then this is something which was, I think it's a fabulous work, Paresh, because I remember still you mentioning to me that there is a space which is you could not divulge where it was at that point because you had to have some kind of secrecy thing. So you said there is, but I have to make a painting that I can't even imagine the scale that I have to go into. So tell us something about that. And once I remember visiting, I was with you when the airport was inaugurated, and when I saw it all together, I saw them in pieces, but when I saw it all together, the panorama, it just made me feel so proud of the diversity of culture that we have. And Paresh, tell us something about how you managed to do this work.
When they asked me to do, I was, I had sleepless nights. I could not imagine that. Is it possible to do that 850 feet painting? Have I seen such large painting? So I was probably, imagining it is by mistake they are saying the size. One very day I asked them, may I, go and see the space? So I went and I said, my goodness, is this the space I have to paint? They said, yes, you have to paint on this and you have this much time. This is called Indian Odyssey. This painting captures and depicts the India's art, culture, places, people, color, everything, and every state is there. When you arrive from any place, you want to really see the history, the culture, the places, the people, because this is in arrival hall. So I said, let me create this. In front, you can see there is Mahabalipuram elephant and, Kerala's Kathakali and, all these. It started from Calcutta, the Bengal. So the first panel is the Kalighat Ma, and the last panel is the Kashmir, the Dal Lake. So and the diversity of our country, the people, the energy I wanted to capture in this 180 feet, you know, paintings. And I don't know if when I will get again this chance to create such a big work. So after creating this painting, I always feel that all the canvas is miniature. It is
Paresh da, but what if we know you well? Every time there is a challenge with regards to size and art, you always overcome it with twice the size, whether it is watercolor, canvas, anything. I think you fill life into the canvas, the medium itself, and it's almost like life is vibrating all over. This is
because I'm small, so I'm always obsessed with the size. You know. By the way, Mrs. Minda, this painting was created in Bangalore. It took nearly 1 year, so it was created there, and I had a studio. After that studio, any studio again looks miniature. So I had a huge space, nearly 30,000 square feet space, open space to create this painting.
well,
It was amazing experience. But I never, uh, worked like extra time. It was a God's blessings. Smoothly, I could, without any stress or without any pressure, I could complete this before on time. And it got and installed one by one in Delhi International Airport.
So, Paresh, when you were conceiving this body of work, this Indian Odyssey, did you do like a rough draft of different what you have to pick from Kerala or what you have to pick from a state? Did you like a rough draft? Did you write or did you do a sketch? How did the behind the painting research happen? How did you
See,
go about doing that?
I don't draw, I don't do layout.
Now we know that.
I
So
go straight with the color and brush, pen brush. So I just throw and then the shape comes out. So it was just like that.
no, but
And not
images,
any layout,
yeah.
not any drawing, not any graph, nothing. It was spontaneous from my heart and soul and passion, love. It just went into that.
It was more spontaneous work. Went wonderful.
Parishta.
Not very spontaneous. By the way, let me tell you, even in watercolor, I know you see all these boats and all this. I don't draw.
Uh,
I don't draw, by the way. But other way, when I'm in the plane or in the train, when I'm sitting somewhere under a tree, the sketchbook is like my diary with me all the time. So I'm sketching. All the time I'm doing drawing, sketching. You will see hundreds of my sketchbooks from my early ages to now, and which I have captured from Bengal to Norway to Sweden to Japan to China to Mexico. You name any place which is captured in those sketchbooks. There are drawings with some little line is all you can see that place.
Yeah. So Parishda, this has actually been amazing and a very revealing webinar for us as well, relating to your life and how your work has worked with it. You've just, I mean, you've just touched the tip of the iceberg. I mean, having won the Padma Shri, done such monumental work, and going on and on. I think you've got a long journey ahead. But along with that, we'd like to know how the future artists of tomorrow, what would be your advice for them and the collectors as well and the general public?
The first thing for the hard work for any artist becoming an artist, the young generation, hard work is the greatest wealth. There is no shortcut in life. One somebody told me when I was very young. I used to do watercolor, like they used to call me like India's Tana. They said, remember one thing, if you want to be a turner, you must do the number of paintings he has done in life. So you have to work very hard. There is no shortcut. There is no easy way. That is the biggest uh, thing for any up and coming artist, students, or anybody. And for art collector, it is first the love and the investment is the emotional investment. They have to love art, not that, oh, this will return this much. That is not. Because in that case, they will get bored after some time and they want to do something else. So until and unless they get that love, passion for art, they should always think that first, and which, because art is something that one has to live with that every moment and every part of their time.
Yes.
And so that is not that, oh, I have, this much investment. That is not the correct thing. It is like when you buy music, earlier days, a musical CD or, cassette. People never thought that they would get after listening to that happiness, joy, pleasure. So art is that it uplifts your mind, uplifts your life, your generation. You learn the aesthetics, you learn the beauty of the world. So with that sense that they should collect art, not just sake of you know getting a signature.
Yes. Thank you so much for Paresh, for these wise words, Paresh. I also wanted to, because we are short on time, I wanted to take in a few questions from our viewers before we close the webinar. So I'm just going to start off. Uh, we have a question from Priya Khandwala who says, as a child, did you have any artist that you were inspired by to pursue the style of art that you have?
Because I had no exposure in art, so I had nobody in my mind. Uh,
Mm,
my inspiration was like folk art, pot
mm,
chitra in Bengal. They were those artisans were my inspiration, not like anybody.
yes, lovely. Pareshda, the second question is coming from Vinay Tully, and she says, "How have you been able to follow different disciplines and do justice to it all? Which is your favorite medium?"
See, it is very difficult. Like if you have five kids, which is your best kids? All they are my favorite medium. It depends. When I'm doing watercolor, that's my favorite medium. But when I'm doing oil, it has advantages. That's my favorite medium. When I'm doing installation sculpture, because it's very interactive. You can go through, you can sit on it, you can touch on that.
Mm,
So then it is a different medium. But of
mm,
course, watercolor is my heart and soul.
lovely. We have another question from Chandra Prakash Kumare, who says, "Which are the best inspirational moments throughout your artistic journey?"
Uh, the morning light and the evening light.
Mm.
The call of the spirit, Parishda. And then we have Murlidhar Vemuri who says, what is the best painting you have done? Possibly he's asking about from your point of view.
That is very difficult questions. That is really, if you ask a mother that which child is your the best child,
Mm,
I really can't say
mm,
that. I have maybe many paintings. That
mm,
best painting or a best child,
mm.
it is really very difficult for me to say.
Yes. Parishta, there are a few comments here which I would like to end with because, the artist finds his muse not only in the inspiration of what he sees around it, but in the expression and the people taking it in the way, they do and carrying it forward. So we have Satyajit here who says, the first visit to Shimla is beautiful. Wow, light of paradise is surreal and magical. And then there is the pagoda, which he really liked. So I think you've hit your mark with a lot of our viewers today. And I hope we get to do another series with you soon and interact with you hopefully for a lifetime. Thank you so much,
Very
Parishda.
much, Amrita. Thank you very much, Mrs. Anuminda. Sunaina Anand. Sunaina, thank you very much
Super.
for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Menda. Thank you, Sunena.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Parishda. This
Thank
was
you.
a wonderful webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.